when you hear me say that Aristotle says the function of human beings is to use reason, you might think I'm saying that Aristotle says the function of human beings is to kind of act purely using logic and never feeling emotions. But this isn't what Aristotle has in mind. So the virtuous person should feel emotions, but in the right way, at the right time, and so on. So you should feel sad at the death of a loved one, for example, or joy at the birth of a child. So the function of humans is to use reason, yes, but we can use our reason to kind of direct our emotional responses so that we feel the correct emotions at the right time and place and so on. So I'll give you some examples to illustrate what I think Aristotle means by this. So when you're a kid, for example, you might hate eating vegetables and just want to eat sweets or whatever. But your parents, who are the voice of reason at that age, they encourage you to eat healthily. And eventually, over time, you begin to enjoy eating healthily. So your taste and your emotional reaction changes, and the thought of eating nothing but sweets might now actually make you feel sick. Or reading, for example. Reading is kind of maybe a bit boring and difficult if you're not in the habit of it. Like, you have to kind of force yourself to do it a bit, especially if you're addicted to screens and have a lower attention span or whatever. But once reading becomes a habit and you get used to it, it can actually be really enjoyable. So again, you can kind of use your reason to shape your tastes and desires and emotional responses. So yeah, it's the same thing with virtues. You develop courageous character, for example, by acting courageously. And so if you act courageously, even if it doesn't come naturally at first, then the next time you're in a similar situation, it becomes easier to act courageously because you've done it before. And if you keep acting courageously until it becomes part of your character, it becomes habit, then you might actually begin to enjoy acting courageously. You might enjoy pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So again, like the reading and eating vegetables examples, you can kind of change your emotional response through habit. And while we're on this point, Aristotle says that acquiring virtues is a bit like acquiring skills. You can't learn to ride a bike, for example, by just studying the theory and reading books about bikes. You have to actually practice riding the bike until you're able to do it. And again, it's the same with virtue. You can't develop virtuous character by just reading Aristotle or theorizing about virtue. You have to actually go out into the world and act virtuously until it becomes habit and part of your character.